All right, ladies and gentlemen across Africa and beyond, welcome to our very, very first podcast. With us in the studio today, we have a lady that I truly admire. Very, very ambitious young lady, quite determined. And I had to bring her to the studio today because she has a story that I have been dying to hear, and a story I strongly believe that you need to hear too. So, without wasting any time, please, Terry, tell us about yourself.
Thank you so much, Mercy. I am so excited to be to be sitting on this side of the chair this time round. My name is Teresa, the founder of Dear Black Girl Movement, the author of Dear Black Girl. This is my story, yours too, memoir. I'm just getting into
Mhm.
my writing journey. I have an interest in human psychology, so there's also a bunch of other books that I'm writing currently
Mhm.
that are
Mhm.
focusing on psychology, human life, and all that. And I am a lover of women empowerment, building
Mhm.
women leadership, and everything in between. So I'm excited for today.
Yeah, I was thinking of one word to describe you, and quite a number of them came to mind. But because I had to choose, you are a lady, an African woman that has achieved so much within a very short period of time with very little. And I am saying this from just a very shallow understanding of your journey, very shallow understanding of your story. To describe you, bold would be a loosely chosen word, but bold still remains the right word to describe you. And I am curious to know, how did we get here? And how did we get here where we are right now, talking about Terry, talking about the Dear Black Girl movement? How did we get here?
Thank you for the word bold. When you say that I've achieved so much with so little,
Yeah.
I'm trying to just look and examine what are the things that I've achieved. And I
Bold.
can't exactly say there's a lot I can
Mm-hmm.
say that I've achieved, but we're working on it. Maybe in a few more months, a couple of years, we can stand and say that, okay, we achieved that.
Mm, yeah.
And coming back to your question, where did this all start? It
Mm-hmm.
started way back. I've always been a girl that has been very excited about leadership. I was not
Mm-hmm.
particularly a leader in school or anything, but I always knew how to lead, probably from my home upbringing, my position in my family. I've always been, kind of the fixer daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Something is wrong, everyone is coming to you. The things need to happen, you are the center, you are the fixer, you're the project manager, and it started from then. But coming, just focusing on Dear Black Girl, it's been a journey. I love working with communities. So for a few years now, I have been volunteering with different organizations, and I've been working with different individuals. And in there is a lot of spaces, it's women's spaces. And from that, there's a lot of things that I realized that there are gaps which
Mm-hmm.
needs to be addressed. I realized that as much as we have many organizations in this space, we have activists, feminists, and all that, there's still
Mm-hmm.
things that need to be addressed. There's still gaps in terms of how we are addressing them. And that is what led me to start really looking into how do we address that. And from that, it just clicked. Honestly, I didn't think that I'm gonna build anything or it's gonna translate to anything. So I started writing. It just clicked that I've wanted to share my story for a long time, but I didn't know how to do it. I'm not an author, but I loved writing in school. Yeah, the compositions. I wish
Mhm.
we can access those. I guess. I started writing the Dear Black Girl, This Is My Story, Yours to Memoir. So the memoir
Mm.
focuses on my journey as an African girl. And this is also
Yeah.
attributed to the spaces I have been part of. I'm part of a Pan African organization. I'm an executive leader. I'm a member of EXCO. I am a project manager. So I have learned
Mm.
to look at things from different or multiple lenses. So
Yeah.
telling my story from, the journey of becoming from that point, and also
Mhm.
collectively telling the story of, other African girls, other women, throwing in
Mhm.
the story of my mom, my grandma, and the reflection of where how African women's stories are was an eye
Mhm.
opener. So after writing the memoir, the manuscript, I was
Mhm.
asking myself, okay, actually it was a huge debate because do I publish it? Do I not publish it? Do I want
Yeah.
strangers to be ridiculing me? Do I want
Mm.
people to be suddenly in my business, in my family business? And then I told
Yeah.
myself, the people that we even see right now, the successful people we see right now, they had to sacrifice something
Mm.
for you to now resonate with what they are building and everything they stand for. So for me, I
Mhm.
sacrificed my story, my privacy, and I
Mm.
wanted to tell that story in a way that it represents how I felt, how I
Mm.
think of different systems, and
Mm.
just also critiquing and pointing out what could be wrong. And in
Yeah.
that, then using my story, my data, the data of other women to
Mhm.
build something of impact. And that
Mhm.
is where now later on it became a movement, because we were asking
Mm.
ourselves. And when I say we, I had reached out to a couple of my friends to be like, okay, I'm writing this and this. I want you to read
Yeah.
to read the manuscript, review it, tell me what you think. And then as we were just
Mhm.
trying to put the concept together, there was something that I wanted to do, and not just the memoir. For me, I want to translate my story into different versions so that everyone can follow. The memoir
Mm.
is one way, but we do know that right now people don't read as much. So I want
Yeah.
to be able to translate this into multiple forms. So
Mm.
that's time, and it's still in plan, thinking of developing the Dear Black Girl memoir visual concept. So this is
Mhm.
interpreting the feelings of the memoir, the environments, and everything in
Mhm.
between. So we just did a concept shoot, not a full shoot itself, but
Mm.
I have plans to continue doing that. Of course,
Yeah.
one thing that has limited me this far is finances, but I also want
Mhm.
to even get to a point that we translate it into a documentary, or
Mhm.
multiple things that will connect with different audiences. There's people interested in books. There are others who don't read books, but they can,
Yeah.
listen to audios. They can watch a movie. They can walk
Mhm.
into an exhibition and, interpret art and all that. So I want to be
Yeah.
to tell multiple versions of this story to make sure
Mm.
that everyone understands the
Mm.
problems, everyone can see the why what we are
Yeah.
building is important. And yeah,
Mhm.
as we're doing that, then we started looking, okay, yes, I've told my story. What
Mhm.
next?
Yeah.
And for me, it is more like how the other women that I've encountered been working with, they are so shy to tell their stories. Some of
Mm.
them are scared of telling their stories. So how do we get them to know that their stories matter, they're important, and
Mhm.
also from the standpoint of a strategic thinker, I'm
Mhm.
looking at a version of these stories are the data that could inform policies. It's the
Mm.
data that could inform programs, projects,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah.
So that is where now we started the Dear Black Girl movement. And from
Mhm.
there, it's been I can say for the movement, it's been about 7 months in the
Okay.
making. So,
Mm,
and we have, I can now say that I've achieved, the team that I am with, we've achieved
mm,
quite a bit in terms of
mm.
just shaping that, mapping up everything, and
Yeah.
being clear that this is how we want to build it. And I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't say a lot because we're in the space of building. So
Yeah.
there's gonna be, different translations, transitions until we get to build a system that stands. Yeah.
Beautiful. You did throw away your success by saying you haven't achieved much, but for someone watching from a distance, I can confidently say that you have achieved quite a lot. And this is something I really want African women to start embracing. When you put yourself out there, give the world your best, and you finally get a glimpse of what it is that you have been hungering for. Embrace it. From me to you, well done. You have
Thank
done a
you.
good
Thank
job
you
with
so
yourself.
much.
Yeah, so I wanted us to circle back to how this movement began. Would you say it was your first initiative? Is it your first initiative, or something happened before this?
So
Mm.
when you're talking about initiative for something of this magnitude, this is a first. But the
Okay.
journey did not start here. It started with my interest in, of course, women matters and women empowerment and stuff. So in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
there there's this grant opportunity that was available, but we didn't get it. Unfortunately, I give it.
It
I
happens.
highlight it. I highlight it because it actually played an important role
Yeah.
to building what we have right now. So
Mm-hmm.
my friend saw it and she was like, "Can we come up with a project and submit? Maybe we can get the grant to do something, and move from there." And it was very casual. It was her. Then there was a friend of mine who was an affiliate with a different organization, and
Mm-hmm.
then another friend that I knew in the art space. So we're like, guys, look, there's this and this. Can we brainstorm? What can we come up with? And then once we come up with, we can submit this for the grant. We fingers crossed we
Mm-hmm.
get it, and then
Mm-hmm.
we see how that moves. So as
Yeah.
we were doing, we were putting the ideas together and the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when things were taking shape, I started asking myself, okay, I've always been interested in building system, in shaping things. A
Mm-hmm.
program, a project is a one-off thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can become something if there's systems in place and frameworks that make it a bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, I
Mm-hmm.
started thinking of a direction. So let's start building a non-profit organization that is
Great.
going to have this project and more
Mm-hmm.
projects. We can come up
Mm-hmm.
with multiple proposals, what works. But
Mm-hmm.
the focus, of course, is women. And
Yeah.
we started shaping an organization. By then, we were calling it Empowerment Pathways Alliance. And we went
Okay.
as far as even creating, Udu. Has a website part that you could create your website for free for,
Uh,
and stuff like that. So we went ahead
mm-hmm.
and even created the website. And then I was doing everything, not everything because there was people involved, but
Yeah.
the website creating, the leadership part, and
Mm-hmm.
it went well. But as we were
Yeah.
doing this, I realized that we cannot just address, there's a lot of gaps and we cannot address just one problem. Because for
Mm-hmm.
me, the project that we came up with was to do with menstruation and mental health. So the
Yeah.
intersection of these two, and addressing them, and access to dignity kit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I started asking myself. So remember, I'm still interacting with women in different communities. So I'm
Yeah.
getting different stories. I'm getting to
Mm-hmm.
hear, okay, what life looks like for them. And I resonate to this because I see myself in their lives. I see my
Yeah.
mom in their stories. And I was
Mhm.
like, menstruation and mental health is not it. Like, it
Mhm.
is part of the problems that we are having, but it's
Yeah.
just the 1%. What about the
Mhm.
99%? So I wanted to do
Yeah.
something different. And I realized that a lot of problems are tied to the data of our lives. So that is where we started looking at, okay, how can we build something that is influenced by real data, our lived in
Mhm.
experiences? So, taking
Mhm.
the experiences of Mercy, my experiences, the experiences of other women,
Mhm.
examining data, and then let it shape the programs, projects, policies, systems
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
we need. So that is where
Mhm.
now the focus became lived in realities, real
Mhm.
data, translating that into impact. How
Mhm.
do we do that? And so that
Mhm.
is where the ecosystem started. Dear Blagal came later on in 2025. So that is also
Mhm.
towards the end of 2025, because now at the
Mhm.
beginning of 2025, after we had done the Tujijue project, I mentioned we
Yeah.
didn't get grant, so we had
Yeah.
to fundraise, we had to put in money. And remember, I'm an employer at this point.
Mhm.
We are just trying to get it done because we were so excited for the project. And it
Mhm.
there's a way you will come up with something and just recognize that it is super super important. And
Yeah.
because we also want moving, my thing has always been to look at things differently and do it
Yeah.
differently. There's a lot of
Yeah.
organizations that are doing like pad drives, dignity for women and stuff like that. But I've just been
Mhm.
thinking, how different can I do it so that it addresses maybe the gaps, the cracks, and
Mhm.
we are able to do more. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is the whole transition into now me starting to reflect on the data of our lives, writing my
Mhm.
memoir, and then starting to shape the Dear Black Girl movement. So it becomes a
Mhm.
movement that is rooted on lived in realities of African women and
Yeah.
Black women in
Yeah.
Africa globally. My
Mhm.
keen interest is on Black women, on African women, because I'm
Mhm.
African. And
Yeah.
sitting at a Pan African executive leadership uh,
Mhm.
office, I've
Mhm.
realized that African women are underrepresented
Mhm.
across all systems.
Mhm.
None of these systems were established with us in mind. So
Mhm.
you won't be invited in the system. So it is a matter
Yeah.
of how do we build or how do we shape systems? How do we
Mhm.
get to own our stories and
Mhm.
translate it into something of impact, more long-term solutions? Because the problems that
Mhm.
we are highlighting, they are problems that have existed for a long period of time, but
Mhm.
we don't have concrete frameworks and solutions in place. I
Mhm.
want to applaud all the organizations that are doing, in different capacities, doing different things. But one thing I
Mhm.
also realized that grassroots movement and community-based organizations, they do a lot, but
Yeah.
they don't have access to financing, support, and everything in
Mhm.
between. So, dear Black Girl,
Mhm.
it got me thinking, how do I work with the communities? How do I
Yeah.
work with these women who are trying to build things for themselves? And
Yeah.
how do I build for impact? So that
Mhm.
became the whole thing. Yeah.
Very bold indeed, because from what you just mentioned, we see a situation where funding is a problem. We see a situation where access is a problem. But you still insisted, you persisted, you kept carrying on this dream, this idea, this seed of the movement. Why so determined? What is it? Any story that you can tell us? Where was that momentum? Where is that momentum coming from?
It is coming from collectively the women in my life, my
Mm-hmm.
mom, my grandma. I look at a lot of women and I realize that we've never had control over what happens to us.
Yeah.
We've never been in spaces or to make decisions that
Mm-hmm.
affect us.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, we are in a space that we cannot keep ignoring it. Something
Yeah.
needs to change. The world
Yeah.
has changed so much, so we cannot continue being in this space. And still,
Yeah.
also another thing is that we can't just complain. you
Yeah.
know Sometimes we complain about things, and that is the only thing we do about it. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
it became, how do we move beyond just pointing fingers, complaining,
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
building for us? So
Yeah.
the reason I am so motivated, it's because I want a better future for myself. I
Mm-hmm.
want the next generation of women to have better.
Yeah.
I want African women to be able to compete on global stages, because the standard is not your village, the standard is not your country, the standard is
Right.
global. Everything operates on global networks. So if
Mm-hmm.
you cannot compete on that level, it
Mm-hmm.
means that you are not seen, you are not
Mm-hmm.
represented, and you will keep having the problems. Nothing will change. So
Mm-hmm.
we are building from a point of no resources, no
Yeah.
funds, but we are
Mm-hmm.
starting. One thing
Mm-hmm.
I realized early on is that there's also very limited funding that
Yeah.
is poured into African women.
Mm-hmm.
The funding that is currently available, I see a lot of it directed to agricultural spaces. And when I'm saying agricultural spaces, is it's also not in a big chunk. I'm looking at, if you look at programs that women run from agriculture, women
Mm-hmm.
naturally, especially African women, they could not inherit, wealth, land, and stuff like that. So a lot of it
Mm-hmm.
is more like small scale funding. To you
Mm-hmm.
plant tomatoes, you plant kales, cabbages on a small scale. And
Yeah.
then also there's, tech is coming in, STEM, so funding is directed to that. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't have the education to compete on
Mm-hmm.
that level. So the
Mm-hmm.
people that can access these funds are very limited, and still the
Mm-hmm.
fund itself is limited. So we're
Yeah.
trying to shape something that bridges the gap. We are not
Mm-hmm.
just looking into the agricultural space, but we are looking at, I will say, the economic system, the financial
Mm-hmm.
system, the
Mm-hmm.
relationship of money, African women with money, and
Mm-hmm.
how do we build systems for us?
Yeah.
How do we
Yeah.
design them? How do we create funding for the
Yeah.
projects, programs that are important to us? So
Mm-hmm.
that is, yeah, that is what we are looking at.
Nice. We will get back to the money aspect of it because I strongly believe that it's very, very important, especially when it comes to conversations around empowerment. But you did mention something about you being the firstborn, and you briefly mentioned your lovely mom. So I am wondering what is going on there. Can you please talk to us about your family environment? How has that molded you into who you are today?
First, I've grown up in a polygamous family, and a lot of you are gonna resonate with it, especially if you're African.
Mm,
And life in a polygamous family is very different, especially a family that doesn't have access to much. So there's
mm,
competition of love, attention, money
mm.
itself, and everything. There's
Yeah.
no guarantee that you gonna get what you need for you and stuff like that. There's
Mhm,
also the issue of, there's always something going on behind the scenes. Women are fighting, children start hating each other, and a million
mm,
other things.
mm,
And but my mom has always been a pillar. She's been this strong support system. She wants better
mm,
for her children, so she's been pouring everything into us. So
mm,
sometimes I look at my mom, and from where she is right now, I realize that she's poured everything into us, that there's literally nothing left out of her.
yeah,
She's now very fragile because she fell sick in 2024. So, and
yeah,
the sickness didn't just come in 2024. I tend to look back and see all the pressure, all the constant need for her to
mm,
keep going, to make sure her children are doing okay, they can go to school and stuff like that. So I
mm,
tend to think that it is years in the making. So we just
mm,
realized it in 2024, and by then
mm,
it was a tumor. So there's meningoma tumor.
yeah,
It's not
mm,
cancerous, yeah, but it is also very highly, I will say it is just as bad as cancer, because it now
mm,
affects the left side of the brain. You lose
mm,
your slowly you lose your cognitive functions, your
yeah,
memory, you and I mean, as it goes, there's just a lot of issues attached to it. And
mm,
yeah, so me looking at her that moment, I realized that we couldn't even afford her medication. Like, um, we couldn't afford the surgery. We had to
mm,
rely on fundraising, family, friends. We still,
mm,
and from that circle, we didn't even raise all the money that was needed for the surgery. And I'm just
mm,
like, this
yeah,
is the reality of many African homes. We
yeah,
live under $2. Every day we are constantly debating either we should get this or we should get that, we should eat this or we should not eat
mm,
that, we should buy,
mm,
the kids should have new clothes or they should be sent in school. And now add
mm,
healthcare. We've never known what in health insurance is. So
yeah,
yeah, every day it just became a battleground, because I'm just like, what is left of this woman? How
mm,
can I look at her and say she's lived life for herself? I look
yeah,
at my mom and just realize that her life, I don't think she's ever lived life for her. Her
mm,
life revolves around her kids, it revolves around her partner, it revolves
yeah,
around family. In one way or the other, it is always connected to others, not her.
yeah,
And this
yeah,
is also to my grandma. Her life has
mm,
never belonged to her, it belonged to others.
yeah,
So looking at these stories, it's just triggering to me, because I'm like, when it comes to life, you should be living life for you. Yeah.
yeah,
We don't
mm,
dispute the aspect of support, family, and stuff, because it's super, super important.
mm,
But know where you belong, or know who you
yeah,
are within this space, because that is
mm,
what I realized, that a lot of African women don't know who they
mm,
are in their lives. So it's more like
mm,
their characters in other people's lives, and that
yeah,
is what they know. So that has
yeah,
shaped me, because for me, she's a national project manager, same as to
mm,
many other women. They run
yeah,
homes, they run systems, and I just wanted to live life a bit differently. My life is
mm,
also right now just I'm constantly thinking of, okay, how can I make her life a little bit better? How do I
yeah,
give her relief? How do I make sure that she has access to better health care? She
mm,
can eat whatever she wants to eat and do that.
yeah, mm,
Unfortunately, I'm not in the space where I can afford that for her, and
mm,
it's constantly now a battle for me. Now my life is revolving around her, and remember, being
mm,
a firstborn, I am carrying other responsibilities too. My
yeah,
siblings are looking for me to support them in
mm,
education, other spaces.
Mm,
there's a billion other things, which
mm,
sometimes, adding now the responsibility of building an organization, sometimes you're just being like,
yeah.
I don't even want to wake up for the next 2 days
Yeah.
because you aren't sure how to solve everything. And that is why
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's super, super important for Dear Black Girl movement, because
Yeah.
we are now rethinking how do we create spaces for African women to breathe,
Mm,
to get a
mm,
support system, to
yeah.
lead, to have access to financial resources? How do
Yeah.
we create systems that allow them to have, control over their lives, over their futures, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, very rich, rich, rich story right there. I am sorry for your mom. Just hearing you talk about your mom somehow made me go back to the past and just remember those days when my mom had to deal with also issues that is that are close to what you just described. These things we label as resilience, as hard work. African women resilient, hard work, working day and night, can somehow manifest into some of these things. And it's my prayer that your mom survives this, that she gets well soon, that your family can one day dine and talk about these things in past tense. Yeah, so you have said quite a lot regarding your family environment, and I want us to narrow it down to you as an individual. Polygamous family, many children perhaps, wives biting on each other. How did that affect you as an African young girl growing in that very crowded, very typical African family situation?
For me, I just wanted to get out. And
Mm,
I started realizing early on that I do not want to be in that. I don't
mm,
want to be part of that. I don't want to carry that forward. And where
mm,
I am, I can say that, of course, I've been in, like relationships and stuff like that. But
mm,
as that happens, I realize that I can't live life for me by
yeah,
myself, with the support
yeah,
of my friends, and it doesn't necessarily need to involve another party, you see.
mm,
So for
mm,
me, I'm in the space of, I just want to make choices that resonate with me. I want
great.
to do things at my pace. I want to decide. And
Mm,
I've also just started relearning what love looks like,
mm,
what a support system looks like, what
mm,
family looks like, and what family can be. And my
mm,
family is great. Yeah. At some point, of
mm,
course, because of everything else, there was a lot of, I don't like these family members. I
mm,
don't like, and even for a long time, I had this. I didn't like my dad for a long time, and this is also
mm,
attributed to many other reasons, but that
mm,
I'm not going to really get into. And
mhm,
but also as an adult, I'm getting to learn that, what, it's also the conditioning. That is what they knew. Like, for African men, they know that
mm,
having many wives is a sign of wealth, having many children,
mm,
like there's a lot of things that are associated with that. So
yeah.
in understanding that, there's I give grace to that.
Mm,
But for
mm,
me, I do not want that for myself, and
mm,
do not want that for my siblings. That is it. Even
mhm,
right now, my siblings know that I'm very strict. Like, if you're not
mhm,
clear with the direction of your life,
yeah,
don't just do things because you see other people doing them and stuff like that. My
right.
I'm constantly asking them, do you want to live or do you want to relive the life of your childhood?
Yeah.
So if the question is no, then make the right choices. For me, I do not want to relive that. I do not want,
Mhm.
if I'm gonna have children in the future, I do not want them that
Mhm.
for them. So I want different. And that
Mhm.
is just the space that I am. I want different. I don't
Mhm.
want my past. Mm.
Very brave of you. And I am left wondering, where did that gut come from? Where did you feel, where did that energy come from, that courage to say, okay, I do not want this, I want to get out of this? Remember, you're already working with very limited resources, you know, and then very unreliable people around you, the support system is a bit shaky. Where did you get that courage from to say, I want different, I want to do otherwise, and I'm going to get on my feet and figure out what this thing is? Where did that come from?
I can say it has come from a space of a lot of African women.
Mm.
They have been conditioned to create things out of nothing.
Ah.
So it is more like, how can we continue creating out of nothing? If nothing exists, we have to, to build something for you to create something out of something. Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, also, it's looking at my mom. I want my mom to live a good life. I want a better future for
Mm.
her. I don't
Mm.
want the constant worry of what are we going to eat for dinner. If someone
Mm.
is sick right now, we need to borrow money to attend to
Yeah.
them and a million
Yeah.
other things. I do not want that. So
Mm.
because of that reason, the thing becomes, I want to first kill the virus. You
Mm.
see, you cannot continue feeding something and expect better results. So for me, I
Yeah.
want to kill the disease first. I want to
Mm.
make sure that, okay, if I am going to be establishing my own family and stuff like that, I want to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
the family that I'm carrying on my shoulders right now is well taken care of. I do
Mm-hmm.
not want to carry the trauma to these other individuals, to the next
Yeah.
generation. They have
Yeah.
nothing to do with my past. So why
Yeah.
would I carry things from my past to them? So for me, it
Mm-hmm.
is a matter of, I want to do better. I want to do
Yeah.
right by them. So
Mm-hmm.
that means that I have to be to examine really,
Yeah.
what kind of future do I want? And
Mm-hmm.
if other people are to be involved, how will they get affected?
Yeah.
So it's just that. It's that, looking at where you are logically and being like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I make this choice today,
Yeah.
what are the consequences? Can I bear the consequences? So I
Mm-hmm.
realized that there are a lot of consequences that I cannot bear. Maybe I can, but now
Mm-hmm.
looking at who I am and what I'm building, I'm not willing to bear the consequences. And when
Yeah.
I say I'm not willing, is because I refuse to be defined by,
Mm.
the expectations of others. I
Yeah.
refuse to be defined that this is the path that you should take. I refuse that. So that is
Mm-hmm.
why I am very keen at these
Mm-hmm.
consequences I can carry. Because at the end of
Mm.
the day, other people's expectations won't feed your family. They won't send your kids to school. They won't, build your home. So it is a
Mm-hmm.
matter of, can I bear the consequences? And when I'm talking
Yeah.
about consequences, we know that there's the negative and positive. So that
Mm-hmm.
if the
Mm-hmm.
negatives for me outweigh the positive, then, and unfortunately for me, I would rather take a step back. But if
Mm.
the positive outweigh the negative, and the negative is things that I am willing to bear, then I
Mm.
can make the choice to move forward.
I like that. It shows your level of willingness to want to experience a life that is truly yours. And to do that, one has to be proactive. You have to live life proactively to get to that place. And it's even more challenging for a black girl. There are so many African women out there who probably have a storyline like yours. But it's unfortunate that you and I know that most of them will not get out of it. They will probably just carry it on, or maybe nurse it out of fear of what you just said. What will people say? Okay, what awaits me out there? The fear of the unknown. So your story is definitely one that most African women, black girls can learn from. That yes, this thing has happened. This is where I found myself. How can I get out of it? Very, very important. How can I get out of it? Is there something in me that wants a different life? If yes, how can I achieve that? So, if there is any black girl out there listening to what we are saying, this is something worth considering. If you're in a situation where you feel you feel suffocated, you feel you could do better, Perry has given you a manual that you can actually do otherwise. You just need to decide. You need to make up your mind. Go out there, face the unknown, and the next generation will appreciate you for that. Now, I am trying to get to the meat of the story. You told us about your recent publication, and we didn't dive much into that, and I just want you to go a bit deeper for someone who is planning to read the book, someone who is curious. What is it about? What would you say?
The Dear Black Girl memoir, it is a memoir, so it's basically
Mm,
just the story of my life. And I'm
mm,
looking at it from an African girl angle, an ordinary
mm,
girl who was nothing and who's
mm,
like, who is in a space where systems are against you. Like no system
mm,
was established with you in mind. So I'm telling that and collectively telling the story of many other, and also examining the story of my mom, my grandma.
mhm,
So it is a
mhm.
reflection of that journey. And the
Yeah.
book will actually leave you at the space where I call the in between. The in between for
Mm,
me means I've not made it. I am
mm,
building, yes, but I'm not sure how this story ends. There's no ending
mm,
to that story. It leaves you
mm,
where I am right now.
mm,
But it is a good, I will say it's a good reflection because it's going to get you thinking about you, your
mm,
life, your journey. How
mm.
is that? It's going to force you to look into the lives of women around you. Sometimes we
Yeah.
see women, they do everything. They run homes. We come home, we find good food. We come home,
Mm,
our clothes are clean, the house is clean, everything. It's more like there's just this system that is always, perfect or close to perfect. But we
mm.
don't stop for a moment to ask ourselves, really, this person is basically maybe pausing their life so that my life is better. And what do
Right.
they get in return?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm looking at okay, role these women, they're already doing so much, but
Mm-hmm.
they have so little that is being poured into them.
Yeah.
They have so little they can access. They
Yeah.
have they have limited spaces that they can stand and lead and become and chase their dreams and
Mm-hmm.
basically live for themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
the memoir is basically a reflection of that journey, what it is. So
Yeah.
it's examining, of course, my family life, it's examining
Mm-hmm.
finances, it's examining education and what education looked like for me. It is also
Mm-hmm.
looking to my earliest interaction with leadership and also how
Yeah.
that turned out. It is also a reflection of power and how power
Mm-hmm.
has been used to,
Mm-hmm.
to get me to obey, to do things, and also the
Mm-hmm.
expectations from society. And to some extent, it's also these highlights of relationships that I've
Yeah.
gotten into, or situations that I've found myself. Not
Mm.
because some of these situations I wanted to be, it's just
Mm.
because now we need money. I don't have money.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see that, there's this notion that, get someone who has money, they'll be
Mm.
financing you, they'll be supporting you in that. So
Mm.
it's more like a trade system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we find ourselves in that space, in those spaces. And my story is not that unique. You will find
Mm.
that the things that you're gonna read are things that maybe they're happening to you, or they're
Yeah.
happening to other women around you. But
Yeah.
it is what has got me and the others that are currently building this movement. It's what has
Mm.
gotten us to this point. If was not willing to tell you my story, maybe I
Mm.
wouldn't have gotten the depth
Yeah.
and the stamina to build
Mm.
something out of it. So
Yeah.
it's also just a reminder that African women can also shape systems. They can lead, they can
Mm.
make decisions, they can take charge if
Mm.
given the support, if
Mm.
they have courage to step out of what they are used to, the known. The unknown
Mm.
is very scary, and unfortunately, if anything needs to happen, you're gonna need to familiarize yourself with the unknown,
I
and
agree.
you're gonna be there. And sometimes, as I was telling Mercy, you're gonna be asking yourself, why am I doing this? Yes, you already know why you're doing it, but there's gonna be days that are so hard that you're going to be, why? I wanna stop. But you'll still
Mm.
find yourself getting back. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I encourage anyone who, I mean, in fact, all black girls, African women. When I just read a few, when I read a few paragraphs of that book, few paragraphs from that book, I was like, this is your story, yes, but this is actually our story. Our story, maybe the difference is in the choice of vocabulary, maybe the paragraphs, but their story is our story. And I encourage the women, the men, the boys, the girls to go and grab it, read it for themselves. Because sometimes you need someone else to tell you their story for you to see yourself in that story. That reminder has to come from the outside. And I believe that this is most likely how most of the readers will feel after reading that book. That I didn't even know that I have been experiencing this. I didn't even know that my story carries this shape. So, a good read, go grab it for yourself. Come and testify. We'll be waiting for your reviews. But yes, 25 years, not married, not even situationship. Tell us about that. Come on now, you can't tell me not even situationship. How bad is it? How bad is the situation?
I will say that it's a
Mm,
choice. There's a point in your life that you have to make choices. And I
yeah.
am very big on making choices. And
Mhm,
for me, after everything you're going to read in the book, you'll realize that I just needed a break. I didn't know how to live life for myself. So
mm,
I needed a break from everything. And one thing
mm,
also became for me is, do I want to pass my trauma to the next person?
mm,
I don't want to be that selfish. I
yeah.
unfortunately I am not a very selfish person. I wish I was, but I'm learning to
Mm,
be a selfish person. But now I
mm,
was not so selfish to pass the burdens to someone else. I don't want that.
yeah. Yeah.
If I'm rebuilding life with someone, it is from a point of, healed. I know who I am. I know how I want to receive love, and
mm,
I can, like, communicate, and
yeah,
I am fully present there.
yeah, yeah.
So that is basically it. So, and yeah, I also don't go out as much. I
Mm,
go out a lot for, conferences, and meetings, which I'm also
mm,
very selective. I'm
yeah.
very extroverted when you talk to me and you get used to me, but you'll
Mm,
realize that I am very protective of my
mm,
interactions, my engagement, especially
yeah,
anything physical. So that
yeah.
is, I have learned to just protect my space a little bit, and just be in, okay, do I want to be there? Do I want that? If I feel, and I'm also at some, for the longest time, I didn't feel ready. And still,
Mm,
right now, also, I'm building something, I'm carrying my family and stuff. So there's just
mm,
still a lot going on that I know someone will be like, you cannot manage all that, and how
mm,
many years do you need? And the truth
mm,
is, right now, I just said I am comfortable, like, living alone, being
mm,
me, basically. I'm comfortable doing life as an individual, not in my
mm,
capacity as a woman or anything. It's more like,
yeah.
as a human, I'm comfortable living life by myself. So I'm comfortable,
Mm,
getting property, building what I want
mm,
to build myself.
mm,
That is does not mean that I do not need a support system. I do. I crave that. But I'm just in the space of, okay, if I
mm,
start doing that, how, the consequences, basically coming back to
yeah,
consequences.
yeah.
Am I able to carry the consequences? Am I able to be emotionally, physically, spiritually, and whatever, be
Mm,
present for this other person? Can I give them
mm,
my time, my attention? Can I go through the ins and outs of life and still
yeah.
be able to be just a human being that is able to communicate, that is still able to
Mm,
love that person, with the same
mm,
intensity, and
yeah.
maintain that friendship. So, yeah, I can say that, right now, I'm in the capacity that I can, of course, start trying out again.
Mm,
But for
mm,
me, it's not, there's no medal attached to it. So it's not a race that I am very hell bent on winning. I am just taking
mm,
things one day at a time. I don't know. I might be married at 35. I might be married in the next 2 years. Or
yeah.
I might not be married at all. So either way,
Mm,
I am okay. So whether
mm,
I find my soulmate, someone who sweeps me off my feet or not,
mm,
well, I still just want to live life for myself.
yeah. That is what I would refer to as empowerment. That you can choose. You can choose to participate. You can also choose not to participate. And whatever decision you decide to go with, whatever decision you decide to make, it's you are not worried about, okay, what is John saying, what is Mary saying. You're saying this is for me and it feels great. I am owning it. That is being empowered. And I'm happy to know that you are at that place, meaning you can extend that same light to the women around you, to the next generation, because that is what we're supposed to be doing. How did you get there? It's not easy to get to that place. How did you get there? Use that knowledge, those tools to bring more women to that same platform where you are. But I am still curious though. Why the pressure? Why were you pressured? Why did you feel the need to be married by 25, to have a Porsche car, to have children playing around, to have a very lavishly built house? Why? Where did that come from?
I think it's the environment. For
Uh,
many African women like me, there's that thing of you should be married by this time. When you're not married, when you're not bringing someone to meet your family, there's eyes, people are looking at you differently. Yeah, suddenly
Yeah.
when there's family dinners, the conversation circles back to you. So
Mm.
it's more like that is just, the path that was carved out for me and for many other women. And
Mm.
deflecting from that part meant that, something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I always actually told my friends in school that, what, you guys, after high school, just give me 5 years,
Mm.
I'm gonna have everything sorted out. I didn't know that there's a difference between fantasy, dreaming, and real.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we're in the real world, everything is very different. So the dreams that you had, once you start living in the systems, you're already in the
Yeah.
system, but there's a space now when it is you and the
Yeah.
system. So, when you're
Yeah.
younger, your family shields you, you don't see the weight and stuff like that. But as you
Mm.
get older, the family doesn't shield you as much. So that is
Yeah.
when you're becoming an adult, you're making your own decisions and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
suddenly, it's not so nice to be an adult because
Yeah.
well, everything is like now, okay, so
Mhm.
yeah, basically it's the societal expectations. It's also family. It's, yeah, a million other things. But the reason I wrote that is because that was what was expected of me, and it
Yeah.
became a standard for myself.
Yeah.
So, and it is a standard for all of us, especially
Mm.
African women. So
Mm.
you see, even when you are on the internet and you see a young lady, 30, 28, they are
Mm.
pursuing their degree. The other day, just, I don't remember, I think her name is Dr. I've forgotten her name, but she
Mm.
posted that she had achieved her, I think, another master's or a PhD.
Mm.
And the comments under her, instead of people congratulating her for her academic achievements, they were
Mhm.
asking her, now, where's your husband? Where are your
Oh.
kids? Now,
Oh.
where are you going to be? Like, I was reading through that, and then I just realized that African women, we have so much to fight against. You know, Instead of someone
Wow.
just saying congratulations to you and being happy for you,
Mm.
suddenly they are bringing this other issue that it's in no way related to what you are sharing right now. But someone
Yeah.
is asking,
Yeah.
okay, now are you going to be submissive with your education? How will you raise family and stuff like that? And it was just
Mm.
for me so upsetting and frustrating to see that. And
Yeah.
yeah, so this is just to tell, like, every other woman, every other girl, you don't need
Mm.
to live life with people's timelines or people's expectations. And also, not just people,
Mm.
even yourself, because we put timelines to, everything. If you do not achieve this
Yeah.
by that, then you are a failure. If you do not do this
Yeah.
by this time, something is wrong with you. I just want to tell
Mhm.
you that give yourself grace.
Yeah.
There's no rush. At the end of the day, if let's say you end up in even, okay, achieving what they want you to, or
Mm.
taking the path they've carved out for you, you're
Mhm.
gonna be you and the individuals that are directly involved in that path.
Mhm. Mhm.
So if something goes wrong, they're still going to come back and point fingers at now
Of course.
that thing that is wrong.
Of
So
course.
there's no winning. So you might as well
Mhm.
just, have be patient, give yourself grace either way.
Yes.
So Yeah, whether you marry at 22 and then maybe 3 years later you get a divorce, they're gonna
Mm,
point fingers. Whether you
mm,
get married and in 10 years you don't have children, suddenly you are not a woman, because
mm,
women are supposed to be giving, continuing lineage and stuff like that. So,
mm.
just live life. I will say that.
Yeah, just live life. People will always be people, right? And this also redirects us towards something we were discussing a while ago about women also widening their definition of success. It doesn't has to be it doesn't have to be this small. Success can be anything. It doesn't have to be one thing. And we have to give ourselves the freedom to redefine success, to experience success from a different angle. If marriage is what success is to you, go for it. If success looks like something else, go for it. And African women must embrace these new ways of doing things. Now, one last take on your book. Was there any paragraph, any chapter, any line that you found very uncomfortable to write about?
There's a there's a lot of those. One, I was uncomfortable talking about my family.
Mm,
Two, I was uncomfortable talking about, when I was younger, we had a nanny.
mm,
By then, she was abusive, and I never say this, and I don't even want to examine that. It's
mm,
been a long time, but I just thought it important to include that part. The
mm,
uncomfortable truth is the things that I have done as an individual, as a girl, just to
mm,
maybe have live life a little bit better and stuff like
mm,
that. So there's a lot of uncomfortable truths to that book, and these
mm,
truths, I will say they're not any different from others. Maybe you've not made the same choices I did, but
mm,
there's so many truths that when you actually sit down and start reflecting, you'll
mm.
realize that there's a lot of things that are very uncomfortable that
Yeah,
you've done.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
I'm owning all my truths, because at the end of the day, it is my life. It is the choices that I make. So this book is one of the
Mm,
consequences, because what I'm building, if you do not really understand maybe my
mm,
journey, my story, you might not resonate with why we are building what we are building, and also why it needs to happen differently. So
yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of uncomfortable truths there, and
mm,
there's chapters that sometimes I ask I should have not included. There's also I've
mm,
not put everything about my life there, so they are like, maybe I needed to put some details there that I didn't, which is okay. So for now, I'm just gonna sit with the everything that is out there,
mm-hmm.
and hopefully, as you get to read the book, as you
Yeah,
get to have your own opinions, you also get to just see yourself in those pages, especially the women and also the
mm,
men. You can realize the role that you've played in how
mm,
someone's life has turned, in how one girl's life has turned, and maybe it can get you to reflect and
mm,
just realize, how can I make amends? Because also for
mm,
myself, I'm in the space of how do I make amends
mm,
for me? Like,
mm,
how do I love all the parts that and all the bad choices I made and the good ones? How do I still love myself and give myself
mm.
grace? Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, success, greatness involves some kind of uncomfortable experiences. Because you went through that, we are here right now talking about the Dear Black Girl movement. Because you embraced your story, you owned it, we're here, and there are people listening to these beautiful stories. To this beautiful story, this story is going to change lives. This story has given birth to this very empowering platform that I strongly believe that most African women are going to benefit from. I am here to complete reading that book, but I know for sure that you poured out your heart. And trust me, you should be proud of yourself for doing that. Whatever happened, happened. Now we are using it as tools to build the world. Yeah,
Yeah.
very brave of you. Now, you did. I remember I told you that we were going to get back to the money, the economic bit of it. It is something you have mentioned again and again. Every time we chat, money comes. Money comes into the picture. Economic empowerment comes into the picture. What is it in there for you? What role does it play in the equation of women's empowerment?
I will say not just women empowerment, but money is the one tool that decides a lot. Money gives you choices. Money
Mm,
dictates the kind of schools your children are going to attend. It dictates the kind of life you are living. It dictates the food you can eat and every other thing. So
mm,
money is super, super important. But in the journey and gathering information and just in my life, I realized that women, African women, black women,
mm, mm,
what there was always a question of, if you're asking for money, why do you need money? You know,
mm,
like, I don't know if it is how society has carried us, but
mm,
money was this superior thing that you shouldn't get involved in. It is more like
mm,
this big decision that you don't have the capacity to deal
mm,
with and understand. So
mm,
money shapes everything, going back to that.
mm,
And you need to have the capacity to, even the choices, coming back to what I was talking about, or what you'll see from my memoir, a lot of
mm,
choices are directly influenced by money.
mm,
You know, if maybe you came from a family that had money, I
mm.
will even, what business will I be having with, telling you my stories and all that?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
business will I have with doing the things that I'm currently doing? I'll be
Mm,
living life differently. I'll be doing different things.
mm,
Money for me was that one thing that when we start talking about money,
mm.
suddenly everyone is very uncomfortable. If we
Yeah.
are eating, everyone's appetite suddenly,
You lose your appetite.
we don't feel like continuing this meal. You know,
Yeah.
there's just a thing about money. And for me, as an individual, for me, money is important because money gives me choices. Money allows me the freedom to
Mm,
choose differently, to live differently. And it
mhm,
allows me to give my mom the life that she never had. Because,
mm.
everything, we do a lot of things because of money.
Yeah.
And my mom has traded her entire life because of money.
Mm,
Making sure that we have nice clothes, making sure that we can eat. That is money. You're
mm,
trading your
yeah.
time, your skills, your energy, everything for money.
Mm,
And
mm,
unfortunately for the African women, there's not you don't earn much from that. You've been out
yeah.
the whole day just to earn $2. You've been out the whole day
Yeah.
sometimes to earn zero. And because we also are not familiar with systems of money. We don't actually know how to invest, how to
Mm,
interact with the money and stuff like that. And for me, I am just relearning and learning how to do that. As an African woman, I don't have
mm,
land. My There's no land I've inherited. My siblings
mm,
are not going to inherit any land. So for me, money, that means that we can create wealth for ourselves. We
mm.
can have properties in our names,
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can build a generational wealth. For me, I'm also keen on, okay, what do I leave behind? Yeah. After I'm
Mm,
gone, what do I leave behind? And
mm-hmm.
my mom, as I told you early on, I can say that my mom doesn't have anything to show off for this life. And unfortunately, money is one tool that you can use to show off, yeah, that
Yeah.
you've lived
Yeah.
life or you've achieved something. And
Yeah.
what that means is that she doesn't have anything to her name that she can actually say, this is mine. Apart from the
Mm,
children, there's nothing. So I
mm,
want to give her a home
mm,
with her name on it. I want to
mm.
do things for her, and it all circles back to money. So for me,
Yeah.
also, this movement is about women knowing about money,
Mm,
how to access the resources, how to manage them, how to
mm,
multiply.
mm-hmm.
I want us to live better. I want us to live beyond $2. And not just as individuals, because it starts from the individual level, but it is a system. So this
Yeah.
system will build and manifest to communities living better,
Mm,
nations having better economic systems, and the
mm-hmm.
continent of Africa also standing out will be raising our GDP, because if our people are
Yeah.
living well, then the systems get better and better, and that is what I want. And also, I
Mm,
want women to have control. I want to have
yeah.
control over my life, my decisions,
Mm,
same to every other woman, because
yeah.
most of us find ourselves in, as I mentioned, the dark spaces because of just money. And sometimes it's not even a lot of money, it's as little money as the $5, the $10,
Mm,
which
mm.
you reach now with this economic space, you can just buy one thing with $10.
It's
So
gone.
yeah, so that is it about money.
I totally agree. Mm, I totally agree with that. Now, money, women's empowerment, and all these other things. How would you summarize women's empowerment? What is women's empowerment to you? Who is an empowered woman?
Simple. For me, an empowered woman is a woman who has freedom, and freedom
Mm,
gives you choices.
mm,
Motivation for me is not empowerment.
mm.
Motivation wears off. Yeah.
Yeah.
How long will I keep motivating you so that you do something? I get tired.
Mm,
You also get tired of hearing the same things, you
yeah.
know. So for me, empowerment means going beyond the motivation, creating
Mm,
systems. You know, it is
mm,
about access to better schools, access to, better healthcare, access to leadership, access
mm,
to the life of your dreams. So
mhm.
that is what empowerment really means for me. For me, an empowered woman is a woman who has the freedom to choose. That's it.
Great. Great. So do you think our society gets it? Is there anything our society is not getting about this women's empowerment movement?
I don't think they're getting it because empowerment is viewed as war. It is viewed as gender war. And it's not that. For me, I'll not even talk about it in the language of gender. I'll talk about it in the language of basic humanity. You
Mm,
are able to live your life, you're able to make choices. So why wouldn't you want another human being to have the same?
mm,
So it's not gendered, it's just humanity.
mm,
The way you have freedom to choose to live life on your own terms, another
mm,
human being should have the same. So it's
yeah.
not that, there's that imbalance. And unfortunately, nowadays the systems that are in place, they just systems of, okay, what can we as women do better than men, or what do men get to control and stuff like that. So we
mm,
I view it a little bit differently. It's just about you basic human decency to have
mm,
capacity to, to do life your own way, and
yeah,
also they for in because it is an ecosystem and we are
mm,
coexisting, they
mm,
respect, you know,
yeah,
according all of us respect. So I accord Mercy
mm,
respect, Mercy accords me respect, and that's it.
mm,
That
mm,
so that we have that balance, we can be able to do what we each can do and have still
yeah,
strike a balance.
yeah. So this is not war. This is
It
for
is.
all of us as a community, as a continent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So as we come to the end of this very beautiful podcast, very beautiful conversation, there are still one or two things that I would like to pick your brain on. And the first one is, given the chance to rebuild the world you grew up in, one, two things, what would you change? Just one, two.
I'll say I'll change the system that shapes women to be submissive, silent, not ask question, you know, system that attaches value to specific things, so that if you do not check those boxes, you are
Mm,
suddenly an enemy of the system. So those are the systems that I'll shape. But the systems that I love being African. I love, the diversity and the culture that we have. I'm always
mm,
very excited for like food, the clothes, jewelry, a million other things. So those are things that we
mm,
should totally embrace our own identity, because if you don't embrace your identity, who are you?
mm. Yeah,
Who are you?
yeah,
When you go to your neighbor and you don't know your identity, just because you like what your neighbor is, it doesn't mean they'll accept you as one of them. So,
exactly.
identity, I love that part of, knowing where I belong. It's super, super important. So, that is
Mm,
it. I will just change the things that, the conditioning that we've had to
mm,
grow up with, but
mm,
I will keep all the other beautiful things that we have in our society, the people,
mm,
the everything. Yeah.
mm. Is there anything you feel you weren't able to say out loud as a little girl or as a black girl? Is there any conditioning you went through that just made you feel like there are things you are not allowed to talk about? What are those things? Have you experienced anything like that? Silence and just you not saying anything because if you say something, you will be painted a certain way.
There's a lot, and I would want to get into it, but it's a whole lot conversation. So I'll just stick
Yeah.
to yes. There's a lot of things that you, as a girl, you wouldn't ask, you wouldn't talk about. That is
Mm,
leadership. That is to do with marriage and culture, a million things. So
mm,
it is a whole new conversation that can unfold
mm,
from that. So as a little
mm,
girl, of course, there's just that part of still not asking, being silent, accepting, being obedient, and stuff like that. There's also the aspect of being trained to give, to be better, to basically be a support system to others, be a wife, be a mother, stuff like that. So yeah.
mm. Yeah. So finally, to the young girl in the audience, what do you have to tell her?
Live life for you.
Mm,
Live life for you. No one cares about you that much to for you to always follow through a certain part. And we
mm,
have multiple parts. Some parts you'll carve them, some you are going to fail and restart, but at the end of the day, just live life for you and love
mm.
yourself. Just love yourself. That is it.
Beautiful. And the gentleman, the black boy.
Allow women to exist. Just allow, we are not a threat to your masculinity. So you should
Mm,
not measure masculinity from the reins of control. You still are
mm,
capable and you can support women. You can create spaces for women. You can represent women and we can
mm,
coexist. So let's just, learn to support each other. That's it.
mm. Learn to support each other. Anything that you would like to tell the audience before we end this conversation?
I'll just say tune in. We're going to have exciting conversations on here. The harsh truths. We are not going to be sugarcoating anything and we're building together. So, this will be my invitation to join us in our mission to build better futures, not just for women, but for communities, for the continent of Africa. Yeah.
Mm. And the summit, I saw something about summit coming very soon. Could you please
Yeah,
say more about it?
we are starting to shape the East African region blueprint. So the data, we are starting to examine that data, and it's an
Mm,
invitation to, for community-based organizations, leaders, everyone that wants to do better, wants better societies. So we do have a summit happening on the 25th of September in Kampala. Tickets are
mm,
available on Quicket. We'd love to have you there. We'd love for you to be part of the conversation, and we'd love
mm,
for you to start shaping better futures for the African girl together. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, this was beautiful, and you are doing an excellent job with the Dear Black Girl movement. It's just starting, and it looks promising. We will be here to support you. We'll be here to enrich the stories, and we hope that the the black girls out there, African, those within and beyond, can join this conversation and just benefit from it, because we are doing it for us. We are doing it for African women. We are doing it for Africans. We are doing it for humanity. So let's be part of this. Let us try as much as we can to also engage, share the content. Let's empower each other. Otherwise, I am Rejoice Mercy, and I was your host for this very, very fast podcast of the Dear Black Girl movement. Thank you for the opportunity, and yes, please enjoy.